Kim here, and today let's look at finishing some of our WordPress elements. So we're going to go ahead and hop into Canva. We're going to create a logo and a favicon, and then we're going to look at plugins. We're going to look at settings, and we're going to look at the pages we need, right? I know it sounds like a lot, but these are just some tedious tasks that you have to get through. And some of them are creative and fun. And then once we're done with those, we're ready to do the content. So I'm in Canva, and I have the paid version. So I have Canva Pro, but you are welcome to use the free version. You can do a lot with it. Um, in fact, I kind of like there's not a whole lot I do that is paid in here. I just keep it in case I need it. So I'm going to tell you the settings real quick. So create a design. We're going to go to custom size, and we're going to do the logo first. And this is 440 by 55. And we're going to say create new design. And that's pixels. And here you can see this is just blank right now. And so then you can pick the text and you put that on there. You can find elements. And I actually use this one as an example. So they already have this one and you can use it. This is, I think, a part of the pro version though. Yeah. So this is a pro one. So pro means that it's paid for, right? So it's part of the plan. Otherwise you have to pay for it or they don't let you have it. I can't remember which one. So anyway, that's part of that. If you don't want to do this way, you can try ChatGPT. They allow you to do free images now. And I actually started doing one here. I was redoing it because I used that other design first. And I decided to change this up a little bit. So I'm going to change this. This is the font, and I'm going to change it to photo colors because I want it to match the color a little bit better. And then this one will probably make light. Yeah, so that matches the colors now a little bit better. And I can go ahead and I can save this. I'm going to download it. Oh, download to, I'm going to go ahead and leave it as a PNG. So that way and I'm going to tell it because I have, this is another pro feature, but because I have pro, I'm going to say transparent background. So it'll match with my site a little bit better. You don't have to, you can make whatever color background you want. It's not that critical, but I prefer it that way. And then here is I did the exact same thing. I just took this one right here, which by the way, I got this from Midjourney. And this is Midjourney. This is my account in Midjourney. I was just testing out the text. And so I started out down here where I'm like, ooh, I don't like the explosion stuff, right? So I said an image of disasters on a globe representing disaster preparedness. I don't know why they assume all disasters mean the earth is going to blow up. That's very interesting to me. So then I changed it to an image of disasters like hurricanes and lightning storms on a globe representing disaster preparedness. Now, these still look very cool, but I was like, you know what? I think I need it more like a graphic, right? Instead of an image like this. So I changed it to a cartoon style, didn't really like that. And then I changed it to a clip art image. And here's clip art image. And then using the same prompt, I changed, I think that's the exact same one. I just put of disasters instead of, and again, back to blowing stuff up. So I was like, you know what? I'm not really a fan of that. But then I came back to the same up here, I sent to the same one I liked, and it's completely different. So the thing with Midjourney is that it's you have to play with it, play with the words and stuff to get what you want. Sometimes you don't get what you want, right? I mean, because it's trying to interpret what you're saying. So I liked this one the best. I kind of liked this one too, but I didn't like the whole like it just looks weird, like that's way too much space stuff that's on fire out there or whatever. And so I'm like, this one's okay. So I picked that one and all I did was upload it into Canva so I could use it. Oh, we're going to come back here in a minute. So I uploaded it to Canva so I could use it. And so I have that as okay. So I have that as this image here and then as this image here. So I'm also going to download this one because this is the Favicon. And the favicon is the little thing that goes up here. So like, see how they have this little C here? Unless I somehow edit it off. But if they have little C next to it, that's theirs is just the C for Canva. So I'm going to say, I'm going to do PNG again. I'm going to do another transparent background. That doesn't matter. It's going to make it a solid color no matter what when you load it. But I just like to have it in case I need it for later. All right. So now I'm done with Canva. So I'm going to close out of that. I have the logo and the favicon. So, which by the way, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but this image here is one that I created in Midjourney like a long time ago. I loved it. So I made it my background on my computer. Okay, so now I'm in WordPress. Now in WordPress, and we're actually done with Midjourney as well. So in WordPress, we want to install plugins and do the settings. And depending on your theme, where you go and how you do this is going to vary. So in the last video, I said, make sure you pick a theme. Hopefully you played around with the theme. If not, here's your chance. So I'm going to start off by going into settings here, but I'm going to show you, you can go into appearance. And then if you go into themes, no, you go into customize. If you go into customize, you have options here for your website. A lot of themes require you to customize from here. This one does not. My theme does not. So I'm actually going to go into the settings. My face is in the way again. So I'm actually going to go into the settings and I'm just going to start customizing here. And then as I see things that I want to change, I will change them. But these settings are still important. So if they're not in your theme settings, you need to make sure you go into settings and change them here. You should still be able to either way, but sometimes one of them will override the other one. It's weird. So you just got to pay attention. So I have Easton Disaster Prep. That's the site title. I set that up when we installed WordPress. So the tagline, I want to do something with disaster preparedness. What did I decide now? Sharing stories and tips for disaster preparedness. So that's going to be my tagline. It's not going to show up, but you don't delete this if there's something there that you don't want. So like they have just another WordPress site. Cannot tell you how many times I've typed that in and it's been, even though it's not showing up on their website, it'll show up in the metadata. And so it'll be in the search result. And I'm like, why would you not just delete it then? So put something there, even if it's not going to show up, because it does, when Google scrapes it, it can still scrape that tagline. It's not like it's removed unless you delete it. Now we're going to choose a site icon. And it says the site icon is what you see in browser tabs, bookmark bars, and within, oh, this is the Favicon. So they changed the name of that to site icon. So we're going to select that. Should have been in the downloads. My face is in the way again, huh? No, I just scrolled too far. Where's downloads? Right here. Okay, so downloads. And so now we have the Favicon right here. And I recommend putting the alt text in. You don't have to necessarily, but an alt text is helpful for search engine optimization. So we have the title here, which is going to read, and then captions more for if people need more details, like there's a description of it, but you also have description here. The ones that are important are title and alt text. So I'm actually going to say the exact same thing in the alt text. And that's just because I want them to identify it as my website. So I'm going to say site set as site icon. And so now it's showing you a little preview of what it's going to look like there. That's cool. And then here, WordPress address, the URL and the site address, make sure that says that HTTPS. If it doesn't, please update that. Now, this is the administration email address. You will notice I did not leave mine as admin, right? And if you need to change it, you can, but you're going to have to change it after we set up emails. So for now, this is whatever you had it set as. But again, we can set up emails and change that later if you want to. But you can always create this email address and just use that as your website address. So I changed mine from admin to disaster admin. And that's because admin at is like a really popular email address because obviously it's a default a lot of times. And they tend to get spammed like crazy. So I'm going to do that. I'm not going to allow anyone to register because I don't really need people to register on my site. So we're going to just go leave this time zone. I'm going to change the time zone to, I don't remember what mine is. So we'll see if I can find it real quick. Africa, America. So I want, I think Los Angeles, right? Yeah, Los Angeles. I'm still 8 hours away from Los Angeles, but that is our time zone. And then the date format, that's fine. The time format, that is fine. And the week starts on Monday for me. So I'm going to say save changes. And that particular setting is done. And so now we've got our favicon or site icon updated. So now I'm going to go into writing, and we haven't done categories yet. I'll show you where categories are. I tend to do categories as I go because, I mean, you can, if you have your entire website planned out, you could do your categories, not here, but somewhere else. And then you could choose a post category if you want to default. I actually am going to change uncategorized period because I don't want uncategorized. I think it's ridiculous. But anyway, then the default post format is, I'm going to leave it as standard. I'm not going to worry about this yet. In fact, I may not at all. But then we're going to go to reading. And this one is if you're doing a blog style. So it's tough for me to describe blogs because blogs literally are just websites in a specific format. But that format has changed over the years. Like a blog can literally be anything. So saying, oh, I have a blog is very, very vague. And I remember trying to teach this in college to students, and everybody had the ones that knew what a blog was had their own idea of what it was supposed to be. And the ones that had no idea what it was, they had literally no idea of, and they were trying to make it look like a news station or something, right? And it's just however you want to view it. And that's so a blog is just a type of website and with content on it. And that's what we're building as a content website. So you can say it's a blog or you can say it's an article site. You can call it, I don't know, anything. But ultimately, if you want that blog, a traditional blog format where the latest article is on top, you're going to just do your latest posts here. If you want to have more of a professional, okay, here's my, and some part of this is up to your theme. Oh, I want a specific page and I'm making that page look a certain way, then that's a static page and you're going to create the page later. So you may need to refine this as you go, depending on what you're doing. Mine, I'm just doing more like the traditional blog style. Latest post is going to come up on the homepage. That homepage will be the latest posts. Blog pages show at most 10 posts. I'm going to leave that at 10 for now. I might change that later, but who knows? Syndication feeds show the most recent, and it said 10 items. We'll just leave that for now. And then it says for each post in a feed, include full text or excerpt. That's kind of up to you. We'll look at that more when we do automation in marketing later on. Search engine visibility, that's what we clicked last time, and we want to discourage the search engines from indexing the site. So nothing's really changed, but I'm going to hit save changes anyway. And then I'm going to go to discussion. And I'm going to say, this is fine, but I do not want to allow people to submit comments, so I'm taking that off. And then everything else I think is pretty much fine as it's defaulted because we're not letting people, we're not, so I'm just going to say save changes. And then go to media. And this is where you can decide, this was actually checked and I unchecked that earlier because I was playing with it. I was like, I don't want to crop it. If I have a rectangle there, I don't want to crop it to 150 by 150. So I'm unclicking that. If you're like, hey, I want all mine consistent. I want them 150 by 150 for the thumbnail. I want them square. Then leave that checked. So for me, not so much. I don't care. And then it says organize my uploads into month and year-based folders. For now, we're fine because we don't have a lot of images and stuff. We don't have a lot of media. That's fine. Then we're going to permalinks. Now, permalinks are important because you can see how it says this is how it's going to show up. eastondisasterprep.com/page equals 123. We actually don't want that. This one, they're even telling you to do post name, and that's the one we want is post name right here. And that's part of search engine optimization. So Easton Disaster Prep is always going to be there. But then we're going to have .com/ and then that'll be the post name. As long as I've done my research and include my keywords into the post name, then Google reads that first, right? Or any search engine reads that first and says, what is this page about? Oh, look, the URL says it's about water purification. So it must be about water purification. Let's check and see what the content says, right? So that's part of search engine optimization is making sure that even the URL has that information in there. And that's where post name comes in handy. So we're going to go to post name. I'm going to say save changes. I'm going to do it a second time. It may not matter anymore, but traditionally, if you change the permalinks, you always need to save it 2 times. So I just saved it twice for that. All right, so we're not going to worry about the rest of this. And then we're going to go to privacy. I'm just going to show you what this is. So privacy is telling you about privacy policy and privacy settings. And this is in part because there were some laws changed in Europe mostly where you have to have like pop-ups and everything else. We're supposed to do something like that, but the bare minimum is a privacy policy. It is unlikely that your site will show up in search engine results and in some databases or in some other search databases like Facebook and Pinterest. They will penalize you if you do not have a privacy page. So will you show up? Maybe. Probably not eventually, though. Privacy policies or privacy pages are critical now for websites. So since we've looked at those settings before we hop into the other ones, let me just mention the pages that we're going to look at are disclaimer, privacy policy, and terms and conditions. Okay, so these are the core settings. Now you want to go back in and go into appearance and customize to fit in anything else that's missing, right? So we have site identity. Well, let's just go through each one. So colors and typography are if you want to change like the colors of your site. You can see I haven't done anything. These are just default colors. I'm not really too worried about that. I might change it I might play with it and change it later, but I'm more concerned about the site identity here, the select the logo, right? So I'm going to select my logo. So upload that. That's this one. And it says Easton Disaster Prep logo. Same thing. I'm going to take it and put it in the alt text and say select now. And I'm going to skip cropping. Now you see me doing the alt text. That's more of a force of habit. Do I think that that affects search engine optimization? I don't actually. I think that Google and search engines have got savvy to the fact that people utilize that alt text to manipulate results. And so other than being a courtesy, I think that if it plays a role, it's so tiny and minuscule that that's not even the most important part. But it doesn't take long to copy and paste your title into your alt text so that there's something there and that you don't have to worry about if it does or doesn't, right? So now you can see that Easton Disaster Prep is there. I have a bunch of other stuff that's specific to my theme that I don't want to go through and make and bore you with. So there are more things. See, look at sharing stories and tips for disaster preparedness. That's that tagline that came from that other section. So this one doesn't overwrite it, actually shares with it. So that's why you want to check both spots and make sure that there's something there. And then you can go through, you can adjust this as you want. Like this one has logo padding top and that's above here. And then logo padding bottom, that's down here. I'm going to probably zero that out because there's really no point in having that. Oh, let's see where that is too. No, so I want that to be down a little bit. So let's go back to 30 on that one. Maybe go to 20. And when you start playing with your site, like I like to, WordPress is great. Sorry, I jump around a little bit. WordPress is great because it auto does the responsive, it says responsive themes. As long as you have a responsive theme, it'll make it so that you can bring it up on your phone and look at it without having to do any changes in here. Now, if you're like, hey, I want it to look different on both, there are ways to do that. But the important part is that it looks good on mobile since like it's an absurdly high number of people that use mobile, right? So when I'm done, I want to look at mobile. I might change this gap later if there's too big of a gap on mobile. I might say, oh no, I'm going to come back in and remove that, right? So it's all dependent upon how it looks on mobile for me because I want my mobile page to look good. All right. So this one, here's the site icon. So if you missed it in the settings, you can also change it here. And then we're going to say publish. And then we're going to go back and you can go through and see like there's a header image. I don't have a header image here. It says no image set. This one says show the header image. So this is the header image right here. And I'm going to say, no, I don't want to show it. I don't have anything there right now. Right. Not only that, but I want my articles to show up. So my articles are going to be first. So I've turned off that image in this theme again. So you have to go through and look at your specific themes. So again, I don't want to bore you with the specifics of my theme. So I just want you to understand that you do want to go through, play with it, right? Don't hit publish unless you like what you see. If you don't like what you see, don't publish. And I recommend publishing after each section when you're happy with what you have published. So that way you have somewhere to undo. Or if you close it out, you're not like, oh man, I got to go through 5 sections again, right? So those are these. And it's 9:14 p.m. here on New Year's Eve. So I hope you're not hearing that, but there are fireworks going off illegally, but every year. All right. So that is setting up going through the settings on that. Now, before we go to plugins, let me show you, we've seen the dashboard, that's a word. And you can see mine says this theme. So it's based on my theme telling me these plugins that I want. I'm going to leave that there for now. I'm going to hit dismiss on this. This is 6.7.1, depending on when you install WordPress, it'll probably say whatever version it is. You don't have to go through any of this. You can just hit dismiss. And now you're seeing your general WordPress details. And this will change as you add other plugins as well, right? So posts and pages are your core elements. So we talked about some pages that we need, right? So disclaimer, privacy policy terms and conditions. So I'm going to click on pages and I skip down. I am assuming that they have posts on top because that's what most people do is do the post. You can see they have a privacy policy in draft mode. You can use this privacy policy. It's designated as the privacy policy. Just go in there, edit it, and do what you need to do. This is a sample page. You can view the sample page and see that there is not really any relevant content in here. You can either alter this page or just do what I do and trash it, right? I'm going to trash that. I'm going to go ahead and leave this privacy policy for now, this page for now. But if I want to add a new page, I just say add new page. And this is the block editor, which I'm not going to be using, but I'm going to use a different plugin to help me with, actually, I think I will use this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I have this on here twice. So there's only supposed to be 7. Anyway, so there, you can change this if you want like the old style. I think you might have to, in e-commerce, I mentioned this, that sometimes some of the, like Pinterest can't read some of this content. And I've had to go in and change this from blocks to old, like some other style. And if you do Pinterest e-commerce, then you'll want to watch the information about that if you're having trouble with your about page. But otherwise, the only thing I want to be able to do is write in there. And I think that's what I do. I do use it. So we'll go back in and create a page. In fact, let's just go ahead and so I'm going to say add new page. And this is where it's going to come up. It'll say eastondisasterprep.com/ and this is where I'm going to put in terms and conditions. Right. And so now this is the page terms and conditions. So I'm going to say save draft just so you can see this. Now this is the link. Right. So this is the link. So it'll say eastondisasterprep.com/ terms and dash conditions. I can change this if I want. If I don't want the dashes, it's fine. Dashes in this part are perfectly fine. And it helps people read it if they actually need to read it. And they're not going to be typing these in anyway. So this is fine. You can have dashes, not have dashes. It's up to you. It doesn't matter. I personally don't care unless for whatever reason, if I've made a terms and conditions page before, sometimes it'll pop up with a 2 and not let me change it. Then I'll play with the dashes. So that way I don't have the 2 on there and like the number 2, right? So it'll put number 2 on there. And I'm like, why? I deleted the page. It's out of there. So I don't know why it does that. It just does that sometimes. So terms and conditions are here. And I've already done this for this other site, which I'm not going to end up publishing because I'm changing it to the Easton Disaster Prep. So I'm just going to edit this one. And you can see here that these are in blocks, but I'm going to just go ahead and Control A. No, I'm going to do this way. Stop it. I'm going to see if this will work. It doesn't always work this way, but I'm going to, yeah. So it did copy and paste, which is fine. If you copy and paste from like a Word document, that doesn't work very well. You have to copy, paste it into something like WordPad or what is that? It's called WordPad, right? Anyway, I think it's called WordPad. Something that'll remove the formatting on it. And then the last updated, we're just going to go with 12/31. So that's what today is. I mean, it's not getting published. I could probably put January 1st, 2025. That's probably better. Let's just do January 1st, 2025. You guys aren't going to see this till then anyway. 2025. And then because I copied this from another website that I've already done, I want to make sure that this one says smartdisasterprep.com. I'm going to change that to eastondisasterprep.com. And that way it's in there. In fact, what I could do is I can do a Control F on the page and do .com so I can find them all. So there's only 2, it looks like, that one and this one. And so this one, Prepper, was the old one. This one's, I said disaster admin, right? At Easton. Okay, now stop doing the .com. So disaster admin at eastondisasterprep.com. And I can link that and do other stuff, but it's not critical. It's just, yeah, I retyped that one because it's an email address and sometimes they auto format. And so if the old auto formatting stays in there, then the metadata that, they're reading would look like something else. And we want things to be consistent. Right, so then the next thing I'm gonna do is because you can see right here, I have smart, I'm gonna actually look for the word smart to replace it. So if you're using a template, this is a good way to identify where you need to change things and then double check it as you're going along, right? So this is the quickest way to do it. You should just get a template that's already been approved by legal people because I'm not a lawyer. If you are interested in legal services, I can give you a link that goes to my sister's referral thing. I will include that in the description. I can totally talk and type at the same time. Like that's like pretty good skills, right? I can't really type and talk at the same time. Okay. So it looks like I have no more smarts. The things I say when it gets late. Okay. Oh, and this one needs a space. So I just kind of scroll over it again and make sure that everything looks good. And then I'm going to hit publish. Why not? Right. So it's public and it's published immediately. Now remember, search engines should not be scraping our site, and I can view the page. But in case they do, it's good to have it on there. So we still don't have this email set up yet. We're going to do that in another video specifically dedicated to emails, but it's not hard. It's very easy. All right. So that is terms and conditions. And then we have privacy policy and I said disclaimer. So I'm going to add those three to my site a little bit later. I just wanted to kind of show you how that works. Then we're going to look at plugins. That's the last one we're doing, right? Plugins. So, well, you can look here. So comments, you shouldn't have comments coming in. And I'm actually going to come in here and trash the one that's here. And because I don't want some sort of, generic comment on here. I don't want any comments on here. There's an argument on whether you should allow comments or not. I'm going to tell you now, I've had sites for 20, how many ever years I said, 27 years. And there's back at the beginning, you might have got a real comment every now and again, but even then you've mostly got spam. So to porn sites of all things, I mean, seriously, I'm like, holy cow, I guess that's the only way they can like promote their stuff though. So I guess if you want to, promote inappropriate sites, go ahead and leave comments on, but otherwise it's a waste of time and there's no point in it. There's no value in it. You're going to spend more time than it's worth filtering comments, deleting comments, etc. So I just don't allow comments. And then let's see here. Okay, I showed you pages. Now posts, if you've never worked with posts, it's very similar. They have one here that says hello world. And let's go ahead and just view it so you can see it. See that? That was weird. It's midnight somewhere. Some glitchiness coming on. So this one says hello world. And it's just, there's really nothing on this. So posts and pages look alike, but they function differently. So posts, in fact, I'll show you this. So posts still have that same title thing, but you can categorize them under categories. So then you almost have two pages for the same thing. When we start writing it, I'll explain this a little bit more to you. But basically, you don't need pages very often unless you want to really dive into a specific topic and then you want to use posts to like support it. So if you want to have a pillar page and then have posts that go into that. Problem is with WordPress, then you have to get pretty creative on trying to attach everything, add more plugins and everything else. So I just recommend putting all your content on posts. So I'm going to go ahead and trash this post because we're going to make new ones in the future. And then we're going to see media. You've seen that, but if you want to, when it pops up, if you want to go in and add media, you can just drag and drop into here. Let's see, we did pages, comments, appearance. You can go through here if you want to and look at other things. We're going to play with these more as we go. But for now, we're just going to build this. In fact, we'll probably do email and menu and stuff like that in another one. But I don't want to make this too long because it's already getting kind of long. So let's go to plugins. So before installing plugins, we want to make sure that I'm going to come into plugins first and delete the ones that are here. You'd say, Kim, why don't you want spam protection? Because the free version isn't great and we're not going to have comments. Hello, Dolly. I don't really need it. And I don't want too many plugins for my site because it can bog it down. It can also cause conflicts, and plugins are one of the most vulnerable parts of a WordPress site. So the core WordPress, site from WordPress is pretty secure. They do a good job of updating it and keeping it so that it's unhackable for the most part. Um, Most times they come in through plugins. In fact, the one time I've had my site hacked and I was so upset because they had basically hacked it and took it over. And for a week, I sobbed about it because they were giving me quotes of like, $5,000 to fix my site. And then I'm like, why do I go, why am I paying them $5,000? I know how to build websites. Let me think about this. And I just sat down and I said, well, let me look at the files. And so I looked at the files and I sorted by last install date. And sure enough, a week before that, when I was finally doing this, it showed that there was an install that came in through a plugin. And so I deleted that and my site was back. Then I found that plugin and uninstalled it, right? Because I don't want a plugin that's going to be a vulnerability. So plugins you want to keep as minimal as possible, but you probably going to end up with quite a few. So this one has some that they recommend. So I'm just going to say begin installing these plugins. And we're going to go ahead and install each one of these. Just click install on these. Now, if your theme doesn't do this, I'll show you how to install additional ones in just a moment. So we're just going to install, 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 install. Now, Yoast SEO is a popular one, which is probably why this theme recommends it. And then these other ones are not necessarily critical. So I'm going to go back to plugins. Now, these are installed and automatically activated. And I need to show you this on themes as well, but we need to enable auto updates on all of these. People will argue with me all the time about how, oh no, you don't want to enable auto updates because it can kill your site. Make sure you have a backup every now and again. And don't worry about it because trust me, your site will go down and you will have to do a ton of work if you do not enable auto updates. And even then, it still might go down. So before we go into more plugins, go back into appearance and themes. We need to do this with the themes as well. So this comes with 3 themes installed. I used to tell people to delete these, and I still think you should. But the problem is, every time there's a core WordPress update, they get reinstalled. So I'm like, well, then I might as well just leave them in there and then just come in here and make sure I say enable auto updates. Because again, if it doesn't update, it can be a vulnerability. So I want to do that on all of these. And if you have the capability on your main theme as well. Mine, I don't. I manually uploaded it. I'll have to look into options. But this one doesn't have, oh, it does have it. Huh. Okay. So now it's enabled on all of those, so I don't have to worry about my themes. And it's also my plugins. If you get plugins from a site other than the owner of it, so like I use plugintheme.net. I think they were running a special for like $30 for lifetime, right? I think I paid $75 for lifetime a couple years ago. And then you get to download whatever they have on their site. I get plugins from there all the time and put them on my sites because I'm like, I'm not paying $100 a year for the one website I'm using it on. I can just update it as needed. Problem is that they tend to be need to be updated regularly. So I'd rather pay for it. But when I have 10 different plugins and I'm paying, $100 a year for each one of those, that's $1,000 that I don't want to pay on a website until it's generating me money. So I like plugintheme.net. I also get to test things that way. So if you're looking for paid plugins, you might want to check that one out. For me, let's see. So we've got that one. I'm going to go ahead and start adding a couple new ones. So I'm going to add in, and this is one of my favorites. It's called All-in-One WP Migration. And they've been doing some changes, but I have a lifetime for their unlimited. So I like this one, but it's really nice for backups, right? The unlimited's only for when you're transferring. But so all-in-one WP migration, if I come in here, I can actually create a backup. So if I come in here and I'll create a backup and then I can download the backup. I can delete the backup. I can do whatever I want. So I like those parts of it, simply because I want to be able to have backups of my site if something ever happens and it goes down, or if I need to move it to a new hosting. Then I will also enable the updates on these. Okay, so all-in-one WP migration, advanced ads we're not going to play with for a while. Classic widgets is to help us put widgets on. You may not need that for yours. That's based on my theme. Social warfare is a good one. It's not wonderful, but it's good because it helps people share. So that's a good one. And then Yoast SEO is very helpful for SEO. And when we start getting into our content, that's going to be a good one. So then we also have, which we're not going to set these up yet, but I want to add them now just to get it on here. We're going to do Site Kit by Google. And that is this one right here. So I'm going to install, but I'm not going to activate it. I'm just going to install it. And then I'm going to do W3 Total Cache. If you have a preferred caching one, that one's fine too. W3 Total Cache is pretty good. But they have like plenty of other caching ones if you want to try something different. I'm not going to activate that one either yet because I'm going to play with that another time. But I do recommend going in so W3 Total Cache is actually pretty easy, but I want to show you the difference. So I want to put content on before I activate that one so we can see how different that is. So we'll play with that one later. We'll play with social warfare later. We'll play with all those later, but they're all in here now, right? And if you have a custom plugin from like plugintheme.net, you can just say upload plugin, and then you choose the zip file. Don't unzip it. Just load the zip file and then install it and then activate it, right? And then make sure that you go back into your plugins and make sure that everything has enable auto updates, even if it's not activated, right? Because you do not want those vulnerabilities. So if they push out an update, you want it updated. Usually it'll update later that day. So if they push it out like 2 o'clock in the morning, that midnight that night or whatever, they'll go ahead and update it. So there's probably somewhere you can set that, but I'm not too worried, just as long as it gets updated when it can, right? So enable auto updates as much as possible. All right, so that is it for plugins. We've done, we've done the settings, we've done the logo and the favicon or the site logo now, and then we talked about the pages. So we've talked about everything, right? And I'm at, we've had 30 minutes. See, that's not too bad though. You're almost all the way set up for just a little over 30 minutes, and that's me explaining stuff too. So, maybe we'll make a checklist at one of these times. If you think that's interesting, if a checklist might be helpful, let me know in the comments and I'll put one together. And then that's it for this one. I'll see you in the next one.